Hey, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to Wyce Thoughts. I'm very pleased that you stopped by and decided to watch this video today. Let me readjust myself here. I know it's been a while since I've had a video up, but I appreciate everyone sticking with us here and subscribing to the channel. And, hit the subscribe button, share us with your friends, and I hope you get some useful, beneficial information from this episode of Wyce Thoughts. Okay? So here we go. The bass guitar. The bass guitar is responsible for a lot of things in music, but its main function, its main purpose is to help drive the beat, keep time. You lock in with a drummer, and what you're doing is there were some variations of this instrument way back, in like the 40s and the 50s with your upright basses, and then the good old electric bass came out and made it a lot easier on the bass players because they could amplify with an amplifier. I happen to be using a Fender Rumble 800 combo amp. I also have a Fender 100 combo amp here in the corner, and I've plugged in directly into a board before at certain venues and things of that nature. It all depends. Some people like tube bass amps. Some people prefer the solid state. Some people like combo bass amps. Some people prefer to break it up with what's called a head unit on top and then different speakers to get the tone they want. It all depends on what you're looking for. Okay, yours happens to be a 4-string bass, designated obviously by 4 strings. And this one is in standard tuning, E, A, D, and G. The fattest string being an E, A, D, and G. Okay. Now you can down tune, go down a half step or whole step on bass. Some bassists do. You can also use different types of strings. Now this one on here, I happen to have what are called flats. Now flat wound strings, I'm going to try and get in on the camera here so you can see this. Flat wound strings, hopefully that didn't mess up too much, but flat wound strings, they're very smooth, okay? They're extremely, you can slide all over. Round wound strings are the ones that a lot of guitarists have round wound strings. I don't really know anyone who plays flat wound strings on their guitar. Never heard of it, but hey, leave a comment in the comments section if you know. But round wound strings have those little like grooves in them. There's a little bit of friction to them. I use both. I just happen to use flat wound strings on this version of my Fender bass. Now another thing you might be noticing is, hey, there's a pickup here and then there's 2 here. This is what's known as a PJ bass. P meaning for a P bass and J for jazz. Most jazz basses have 1 or 2 of these. A PJ bass has these slanted or offset pickups on them as well. This one gives you the best of both worlds because you can get a different type of tone. Like if I just want all a J. Can you hear the difference? A lot more treble because you're close to the bridge here, so a lot more treble in that. Or I can go all the way back here to the P bass, a lot darker. Gives you that low end thump from a P bass, okay? And then you can also dial in combinations of the 2. So hopefully you can hear, you got a little bit of definition on that, and you still got some low-end thump. So you can, it's almost like the Swiss Army knife of basses. And there's basses out there that give you, active pickups. These happen to be what are called passive pickups. Passive meaning you don't use a battery on them. You don't, there's no kind of electrical charge on these pickups. Active basses, just like an active pickup on a guitar, is going to be louder. It's just going to be louder. So don't let that influence your decision on whether you're going to buy a bass or not. I prefer passive pickups and just let the amp do the work, and my fingers as well, because too you can get different tones depending on how hard you play. Real hard walking, or if I do soft, just like with guitar strings. And there's a couple ways you can play the bass too. You can play with your fingers like I'm doing. You can do a slap bass where you kind of, I'm not a big slap bass person, where you would slap I'm not a big slap bass person. I'll learn that skill maybe someday, but right now it's just not something I'm into. But hey, if you are, great. There's some great slap bass players out there. You know, you can look them up on YouTube, and there's all kinds of tutorials on how to play the slap bass if that's what you're interested in. You go down that road. You can also play with a pick, okay, where just like a guitar, you play with a pick. There's no right or wrong way to play the bass. So don't let anyone tell you, hey, oh, you got to use a pick, or oh, you can only use your fingers, or you can only play slap. It is left to your interpretation. You can play however you want to play. What feels good, comfortable for you, what you enjoy doing. I play with a pick sometimes. Sometimes I just play with the fingers. Now, mostly I just play finger-style bass most of the time. But there are occasions where I'll pick up a pick if a song calls for it, or if I'm composing a song or playing with the guys and the gals and I want to just maybe try something for different tonally, I'll play the song finger-style through, and then I'll play with a pick and see where we go, where it ends up, you know. So it all depends on your personal preference. Do you like a pick? Do you like to play finger-style? That's entirely up to you. Now, on a bass, too, and again, this happens to be a 4-string bass. It's a Fender PJ bass, 4-string. You got 5-string basses out there. You even got 6-string basses out there. All that does is give you more tonal offerings and combinations. Again, all on your preference. I'm a 4-string guy, always have been, might always be. Don't know. Who knows what the future holds, right? But I like the 4-string. I just go with that, and I'm just comfortable playing that, and I enjoy exploring that as well. Now, as far as getting started playing, again, just get yourself a decent bass, something that feels good. I recommend a professional setup. Get a professional setup by someone once you get your bass. But go, if you got a music store in your area, go play. Play some different basses. You know, there's a lot of misconceptions out there. People say, oh, you gotta spend at least $700 to get a good bass, or you got to spend $1,000 to get a good bass. Yes and no. I mean, there's some great buys out there for $300-400 in basses. Stingray basses, okay, are great. There's a company called Sire Bass Company that you can check out, SIRE. They got great basses for around $300-400, and they got excellent intermediate to pro level basses for around $600 to $1,000. This just happens to be a Fender American made. Okay, this one is the PJ bass. This one here is made in California. Got a pretty good deal on this. You got to play what you feel comfortable playing. Go try them out if you can at a music store, okay? Sit down, take some time, play them. As far as amplifiers go, you don't have to go getting an 800-watt amp, a 1,000-watt amp, a 2,000-watt amp, you know, to start. 40 watts, 50 watts, if you're just noodling around and practicing in your bedroom, is plenty, okay? This is low end. It's going to travel. I started with, back here, the 100-watt Fender Rumble combo amp. I love it. I still take that to gigs sometimes or over to jam sessions. More than ample to keep up with a drummer. Sounds great. Gives you versatility because you actually on the Rumble series, which I would recommend the Fender Rumble series, but again, your personal preference may vary. But on the Fender Rumble series, not only do you have that good low-end thump and a lot of versatility in the settings and that, and they're very lightweight, easy on the back for folks like me that, you know, don't want to be lifting 70, 80, 100 pounds to carry around an amplifier. The Fender Rumble 100, I think, weighs 18 pounds, 20 pounds. Let's call it 20 pounds. I mean, who can't? Pretty much 20 pounds. It's pretty easy to lift, okay? And you also have a jack on the back that you can run that out to a board too, so you can use that as a monitor while you're on stage or what have you, or jamming. And then I've got the Fender 800 Rumble combo over here with two 10-inch speakers and a horn in it. A lot more power. I've got it actually down at its 100-watt setting, because otherwise I would blow the microphone out here and all you would hear is a bunch of distortion. Same thing though, this one weighs, I believe it is 28 pounds. 28 pounds for an 800-watt amp. And again, you have the ability to run it out to a board, add an extra speaker cabinet on this one if you want. Very reasonably priced. I believe it was around $700 or $800. I shop at Sweetwater, so I just basically get 95% of all my gear at Sweetwater. They're not paying for this video or anything like that. Just go to sweetwater.com if you want to ask for somebody. My guy is Dave Cody, C-O-D-Y. Ask for Dave Cody. Anyway, enough of the This is not an advertisement for Sweetwater. I promise you. Okay. Anyhow, but get what you play. The combination you feel comfortable with. Spend what you can afford. Get the best you can for your money. Obviously. Ask around if you know someone who plays the bass. Talk to them. Maybe play their rig. See what you like and things. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Now, subsequently, the first 4 strings, again, E, A, D, and G. Same thing like on a guitar. So you got E, this is F, this is your G note, that's your A, okay? There's your B, C, same thing, okay? Same notes like on a guitar. But the thing with playing the bass guitar is you're playing what's called the root note first. So if you're playing a song, let's say it goes G, C, D, okay? So if I'm playing a G, C, D chord progression, we're on G, I can do this, depending on the beat. Want to lock in with the drummer. D, G, back to C, G. Now the other thing you can also do is you can do the G in the 5th. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the G scale, the major scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you got G in the 5th. Stuff like that. Getting started is just as simple as if somebody says we're doing a chord progression and it's A, D, E, just play the root notes, man, to get started. And if it goes to E, D, or E, I'm sorry. Just simple stuff. I mean, a lot of people have the misconception, bass is really easy to play. It's easy to play the bass. Yes and no. It's easy to get started because you can just play root notes as opposed to a guitar when you're making a chord. But you can make chords on the bass too. I mean, chords can be made on the bass. But that's more in-depth stuff for another time. But just to give you the basics, a bass guitar, it's meatier, it's beefier, it's heavier. But you can get a lot of satisfaction out of playing this because you're keeping the groove. You want to lock in with a drummer. That's the important thing. There's literally hundreds upon hundreds, if not thousands of lessons here on YouTube on how to get started with the bass guitar. I just wanted to give you some insight and let you know the basics here as we go along. Again, one other thing too I forgot to mention. If you're playing fingerstyle, what you want to do is you want to walk your fingers across the bass like that. You're not pulling out or anything. You want to walk them across very lightly. Let the amp do the work. You just, like the Yellow Pages used to be. For those of you that remember the Yellow Pages, let your fingers do the walking, man. And all you're doing is walking across that string with the pad of your finger. And it doesn't take much. Very relaxing. The other major thing, too, is when you're playing the bass, you want to make sure you have that wrist down. Have the wrist down, like so, okay? If you look at my wrist here underneath, it's down. It's not up here. I'm not doing the baseball bat grip of death. It's down. That's going to help you develop your speed. But it just takes time. And I'm still learning too, right along with you. That's all I got for you this time on this episode of Wyce Thoughts. Check out my website for my podcast, wycethoughts.com. And if you want to get in touch with me, it's mail, M-A-I-L, mail at wycethoughts.com. Until next time, my friends, be good to yourself, be good to others, be kind to animals, and we'll talk again real soon. Go have a great day. Take care.